taking this one. Hello, everybody. For today, I am joined by my friends Ingrid and Shoshana, and we are going to be chatting spoilers for Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. And we'll start out spoiler-free just to kind of give an overview of our thoughts, and then we'll dive into the specifics. So general thoughts just all around. What did you think of this book? And Ingrid, you can kick it off.
General thoughts, I really liked it. I went into it kind of hesitant because I didn't like Addie LaRue, so I had low expectations and I really enjoyed this.
Low expectations? Like for your own enjoyment, or you thought?
For my enjoyment, yeah. Like I didn't go into it like thinking, oh my God, I'm going to love this, because I really didn't like Addie LaRue, as you well know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I liked the premise, so it was promising, but like I kept my expectations low so I wouldn't be disappointed.
That's fair.
And Shoshana, what about for you?
Yeah, I kind of did the same. Just I didn't read Addie LaRue. Sorry, I have a cat eating cords. Get out of here. I didn't read Addie LaRue because I just like over the years I've just kind of been like with like V.E. Schwab in general. I liked the first two books in the Shades of Magic series, and then I kind of was like, meh, with the third one. I'm pretty sure there's been a spinoff. I have not read it. Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm jumping the gun. No, but because of my experience with what I have read of hers, I was kind of like, but the premise, again, sounded so great. And I had a really good time with it. I was down for, I don't know how spoilery you feel like the synopsis even is. So I was down for the premise, and I had a really, really good time with it, and I blew through it pretty fast. So it was a page turner.
I do feel like the premise gives away something that you don't really know as a factor until pretty far in. I would say you kind of get some clues. Early.
I think if you're like an avid reader, you could be like, wait, are we doing what I think we're doing? But yeah, it's not like set up front until decent amount into it, but I think everyone has been talking about the premise.
Most people know. Yeah. I have read most things by Schwab. She has a lot of books, so I haven't read the Archive series, and there's a couple of the YA books. The Near Witch, as an example, is one I haven't read, but I've read most of what she's written, and I'm a big fan. I've liked pretty much everything I've picked up, some of course more than others. But this one's one of my favorites that I've read. And I said, to me, it was like if you combined Vicious and Addie LaRue together, because Addie LaRue is very sort of existential, and then Vicious is just that, vicious. And also they both play around with timeline. So I felt like if you mash those together, you get Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. I greatly enjoyed, but there was a chunk of time while I was reading this that I was like, uh-oh, because I was a little worried we were going to try too hard to redeem the characters, and I don't think she actually did that. I think she allowed you to watch them be terrible, and then that was part of why I came away from the end so satisfied, is what I'll say before we get into spoilers. But were there any other things about the book before we jump into all the details that you wanted to highlight? Or are you ready to go into those spoilers?
Yeah, we can get into it.
Let's
get into it.
Less than 5 minutes. Like, okay, let's
do it.
Spoiler time.
You said you had a whole Google Doc of notes for this, correct?
I did. Well, because listen, there's lots of things I wanted to remember when we were talking about this. So yes, I made a whole Google Doc about it. And I wanted to put like a picture of vampire, like something related to vampires. I couldn't find anything, so there's a picture of Vampire Diaries in the Google Doc.
I love it.
But yes, I do. Where do you want to start off?
Anywhere. What do you have as one of the big things in your Google Doc? Because I have a lot of things we could touch on, but I'm curious because I know as soon as you finished it, you messaged us asking, hey, you guys both read this. And we can talk about it, right? So I want to know, what is it you're really eager to talk about?
Okay, so I think my favorite part of this, and I think that this was something I didn't love with Addie LaRue, is the characters. I loved that she wrote gray characters, right? Like no one is a good person in this book. And it's okay, I think. I think we can argue for the fact that Alice is an okay person, but at the end, right, she does some crazy stuff too. And so I really enjoyed the fact that she kind of just lets the reader sit with the fact that her characters are not likable, but you still enjoy the book. I don't
Yeah.
know if it's because it's, like the vampire lore and things like that, but that was one of the biggest things I really enjoyed about this book were the characters. And I found, from the beginning to end, I found myself kind of relating to some of the things that Sabine did, like especially in the beginning, right? Because she's born in the 1500s, no power whatsoever. So what she wants is to marry someone so she can get out of her life. But then she realizes, like, oh, this is not like I just jumped from one
thing,
horrible thing to another.
Yeah.
And I think that powerless that
Yes.
like how powerless she feels relates to her as a vampire. Like it directly correlates to how she becomes a vampire and how she is as a vampire. Like I
Yeah.
feel like she has no sympathy for anyone because no one had any sympathy for her.
Yeah.
But at the very end, when she does become, like when it's clear that she kills without remorse, she doesn't even think about saving, like, because at the beginning of this, I thought to myself, like, do the vampires not, can they just not stop feeding? Like, I thought that it was part of the lore, and it isn't. It's her as a person, right? Like, she just doesn't want to. She kills because she wants to kill. And so I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Like, this is a villain. Like, she's not
Yeah.
she's one of the main characters, but she's the villain of the book, right?
Yeah.
And I
She's
thought that
the
was kind of
problem.
cool. Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool how she was V. Schwab was able to write that, where at least me, it kind of caught me unaware. Whereas I feel like in
Me
other
too.
books, like it's very clear who the villain is, and it
Yeah.
wasn't in this book until you get to know more of
Yeah.
this stuff.
She caught me unaware a number of times. Her
Yes.
killing the first Sabine was
Yes.
not at all what I felt like that was the first moment where I thought, oh, because up to that point you think, I can kind of see where things are going. And then you're like, wait,
Mhm.
never mind, I guess. I guess
JK.
not. And yeah, a number of times that's an obvious scene that sort of shifts things, but there's slow changes in the characters that also from beginning to end you really didn't anticipate, or at least I didn't. And Joshana, did you have, I think you were nodding along to a lot of what Ingrid was saying. Did you have some
Yeah, I just
things
that
to
whole beginning part with Sabine I found really fascinating because yeah, in the time, I mean it's true in modern times as well, but very very true, back in the day, especially I mean, like you said, the 1500s, women didn't have a lot of personal agency nor basic rights to like make decisions in their own lives. And I think I was really fascinated with how she was written as this woman, this young woman, this girl who is like super gorgeous and knows how to utilize that kind of as a weapon and feels very powerful because men are like so easy to manipulate. And that's a very, I think, young woman's way of seeing it. Like I feel like I found myself relating to that too, especially when I was younger. Like, yeah, to a degree, if you're a beautiful, charming girl and you know how to wield that as a weapon, yeah, to a point, men are easy to manipulate in certain ways, certain men, a lot of men, but like that's just the way society is. But it can feel really powerful. Like I can get them to do what I want. Ha ha ha. But like that power is only goes so far. There is a limit to that power. And like I said, it's true in modern day too, but certainly back then, like, yeah, your husband, he like owns you essentially. You might have like manipulated him into wanting to be with you and to whisking you away in this lavish life of luxury, but he can still kind of treat you however he wants, like legally. And I just found that really fascinating. And like her, like you said, I think she just kind of was like pissed at the world and like her circumstances, and just there was that underlying, I think, like just feminine rage thing happening. And I really like that. And yeah, she just, it was like a descent into madness. Like you're just watching this descent into madness, and yeah, you're realizing like I don't think can you be redeemed? Are we going to, like you said, I was kind of like, are we going to try to like, there's going to be redemption and she's going to see the error of her ways. And like, that's not what happens. And I really enjoyed that. So found it fascinating.
I also found that for me, the moment that I realized I don't think there's any coming back for her was kind of a small moment. It was after the other two vampires that were her first essentially vampire friends get killed by all those people. And then she's weakened because of everything to do with the dead bodies and the crypt and all that stuff. And a little kid actually tries to help her. And when that happens, she just turns and kills the kid. And I was like, oh, I mean, she'd been doing terrible things before, but I think I was doing the typical reader justification thing where I thought, kind of like you, Ingrid, I was like, well, she can't control it because she's a vampire. She has to feed. And I think she's mostly going after adults, you know, and I kept trying to sort of put her in this path for potential redemption. And then at that moment, I was like, oh, never mind. She really doesn't care at all. And but I did, going back to her relationship with her husband, I mean, I do wonder, I think she would have turned out to be a villain regardless of whether she had turned to a vampire or not. If her husband had submitted some power to her, if he had given her some and she could have essentially ruled alongside him. I know he wasn't necessarily a king, but he was somebody that held a decent amount of prestige and power. If she had been at his level and his equal, so to speak, I think she would have wielded that very poorly. I think she would have found more ways, because it's not that it was in her nature to be bad. I think the beginning shows that she had the opportunity to be something different. It was just like you described, Ingrid, that continued constant, nobody has any empathy for her. Everybody just expects her to bear the next child of this family, keep quiet about the fact that the father has clearly done things to other people that have resulted in, you know, illegitimate children and things like that. And he was very uncomfortable around her when she was trying to learn how to read and stuff from him. So she's just seen as this, like you mentioned, Joshana, piece of property, and she never was treated as a human. And because of that, I think she couldn't really see other humans as anything worth caring about. But I actually, Ingrid, you were saying you felt like how she was as a person dictated in some ways how she was as a vampire. So I actually thought about the concept of hunger, not just the literal wanting to feed, but the concept of hunger and how it related differently to each character. I think for Sabine, she just craved power so much and at least some agency, and then it became very extreme. And you even and you see it in the fact that she loves the lavish lifestyle. She loves all of the jewelry and those sorts of things. And I think Charlotte was different in that she was always hungry for companionship at the expense of anything. And then Alice, I thought, was hungry for the things that she had lost. So we see with her sister. And then in the very end, I think she's so angry at Charlotte because Charlotte took away the life that she was starting to make for herself. So I think there was like, that was her biggest thing, is she couldn't let that go. So how did you feel like each of the characters represented that concept of hunger? Joshana, did you have a
No, I was thinking the same thing when you mentioned it. I was like, I thought of Charlotte with like love and companionship and just like someone to be with her in some capacity. Like she really wanted that desperately. I mean, obviously, like her going around and like it turned into her kind of using people, right? And like knowingly, unknowingly, I think unknowingly at first, and then she realized what was going on, but she couldn't stop like collecting these girls to be with, even though she knew Sabine was going to be following right along. And Alice, I feel like, again, I agree with you what you said there, and like kind of like I feel like she just like the desire, right? Like what was her like core desire, her hunger? I feel like it was just like peace, like a normal, peaceful, mentally peaceful, like emotionally peaceful. She had all the anxiety and everything she had, like the social anxiety and and I feel like she just really wanted like a normal, like as easy as possible, like contented like life. And that was thwarted, but I
do think too, on the topic of anxiety, which we maybe will touch on more later because it's such a part of her character, but I think one of the worst things to do to somebody who is anxious is to take away the thing that is familiar to them. Because if they can, it's like when people want to get places early because they're like, I got to make sure I understand the parking situation, and I want to make sure I can figure out what's the general vibe of this place. Where there are a lot of people, or, you know, they want to feel like they have an idea ahead of time. And I don't know even that she loved the life that she had that much. She obviously loved her sister, but I think she was always looking for something to anchor her. And so I think it was less about her actual reality and more of her perception of normalcy for herself. That's what, taking that away was the work. Because when that happened to her, I was like, of all the people, that's what I kept feeling. And I think as somebody who gets anxious, not quite to the level that she does, but who can connect to that anxiousness, I was like, oh man, to take away everything that you're comfortable with is such a horrible thing to do to somebody. Among, of course, there are many horrible things that happen, and this is like less of a extreme situation, but for this personal character situation, that was a pretty intense thing to do. But Ingrid, how would you say you feel about that concept in general?
So I almost like I didn't separate the three of them. I thought like one word, right, that could describe all of their hunger would be like hunger for freedom. Like freedom for like Sabine because she was under a man's thumb, and then for Charlotte, freedom to be who she wants to be, right? Because she wanted to be with another woman, and at the time she couldn't, right? And then for Alice, more like freedom from anxiety for sure, but like just freedom from her sister, because it feels like the entire time that we're like hearing about her sister, right, and learning about her sister, it was almost like something that was like, you said anchor, to me it was almost like pulling her down, like the bad side of an anchor, not like
not
like anchoring her to earth, but like dragging you into the
pulling
depths
her down. And you know, after everything that happens, and then she finally goes to Harvard, right, and she's like away from her. And even like, I don't know, Alice to me was kind of an interesting character because we're learning about her sister. And as the reader, you can see that her sister was just not a good sister. Like, and she loved her so much. But even with her dad finding another wife, and the wife was like so good to them, right? She wanted to be, not to replace their mom, but to like be helpful. And the sister wouldn't even allow her that, right? Like she made her feel bad for loving, I think, was it Anna, her name? I forget the name of the mom character, but just freedom from that like emotional trauma that her sister caused. And then you're right, Elle, like for her to finally have gotten that freedom, and then she's now a vampire and everything that she had is like gone.
Well, and I feel bad too because I wonder how much Alice even really wanted that life, or if it was a way to hold to her sister's memory. I think there was a part of her that wanted, that adventure, but I think she had this romanticized view of what her and her sister's life would be once her sister felt better. I think she had this idea like, oh, I'll be less anxious. She'll finally be at peace. And we're going to finally have what we had back when our mom was alive. It was just us two against the world. And there's a little part of me that's like, don't even bother going to Harvard. Just hang out with your dad and your stepmom. They seem nice. There was a part of me that didn't want her to do this because I was like, yeah, just enjoy what you have. But yeah, and then there's a part of me though, it's like, am I imposing onto her what I want, as opposed to, but I think she was chasing after the memory of her sister because she wanted so badly for that to be her reality as opposed to what her reality actually was. And that just made me so sad. I just wanted somebody to be nice to her. I think the idea of freedom is a really good assessment. I think it ties to one thing that I noted about this book in general is how much it showcases kind of the monsters we can become when we're consistently pushing down who we really are. And I think that tied to the poem, and I actually made sure we got it. So the bury my bones in the midnight soil. I feel like it could mean a lot of things, of course, but I took some of that as this idea of like they're constantly having to be squashed. Like something about them, like you talked about with Charlotte, the fact that she wanted to be with this woman that she loved and she couldn't, and Sabine was constantly mistreated by her husband and seen as property. And then Alice is kind of succumbing to her grief and what she wished her life could be. So it was like everybody's being pushed down constantly. And the idea of like, and in my place will grow a feral rose. It's what happens when you're constantly suppressing. I think this was maybe for me the most actually notable with Charlotte, because even though Sabine's, it was like very obvious and overt, Charlotte was more of an emotional suppression because she had to try to convince herself basically like, oh, I'm not gay. I can try to like men. And just the first woman who came along that was charming, it was like, oh, okay, maybe her instead, you know?
Screw men.
Yeah. So I think for her, it really showcased why she was so willing to go through like person after person after person. It's because she was constantly wanting to be able to be accepted in a time that wouldn't accept her. And it was, I feel like, her way of justifying in her own mind why it was okay. Because she was an interesting study as far as Sabine. You're like, oh, Sabine's just kind of vicious. You found yourself feeling less so, or at least I did, about Charlotte. Like, well, she's just in denial. Like, I kept doing that where I was like, it's different for her, I guess. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, it's kind of not. She still does everything Sabine is doing. And I will say, and we'll get into this, there's a lot of manipulation in their relationship, but she she also doesn't take accountability for her own actions and things pretty much at all. She always kind of sees herself in a more I am the victim of Sabine, even when she's able to make her own choices. But back to this idea, do you feel like, Ingrid, that kind of tied to with your feelings of wanting freedom in some way?
Yeah, for sure. I think, and now that you just mentioned the whole thing of like, we jump from Sabine's perspective to Charlotte, right? And that's when we got clues throughout the beginning of Sabine's, story, but that's when it cements for the reader, right? That Sabine is not a good person. Like we can clearly see on the page that she is an abusive partner. But then, right, we jump from that, from Charlotte's point of view, to then Alice's point of view, and then Charlotte is Alice's villain, right? Like, and that was another time that I was, oh my gosh, like I thought Charlotte was a good person, but she's not, right? Like here she is, and
taking advantage.
And in the part where, where I think Ezra mentions, right? Like, what she's going to do to these women that you've been sleeping with. Why don't you just stop sleeping with them? And that to me was like, oh my God. Yeah. Like if you actually cared, right? If you actually cared about these people's lives, like you wouldn't keep trying.
Even mess
You
with
would,
them.
right. And that was again another part where I was surprised because I was like, okay, like she's doing a really good job of like, when we're in this character's head, we're able to like kind of assimilate and be like, oh yeah, she just wants love and she wants companionship and she's in this abusive relationship. And then you jump to Alice and you're like, yeah, she can just not do it. And then Sabine wouldn't kill anyone. Well, I mean, she would, but like not these women specifically. And I was just like, I mean, I don't know. I think this book was so well done. Like I found myself like as soon as I was finished, I was like, holy crap. Like I don't know if it's because I was so in it, like my lens was like this small, right? Like after. And then when you're finished, you're like, holy crap, like she literally took me on a ride. Like it was insane.
Yeah, I like quietly. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say kind of quietly. It wasn't like, oh my gosh, I got to have everything right in your face all the time. And you would think, because sometimes it's gory and sometimes it's bloody and violent, but it really wasn't quite. It was actually kind of quietly sinister throughout. But Joshana, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, the ride for me was like in the beginning, I was like, it wasn't a slog or anything like that in the beginning, but like the first like half definitely took me way longer to get through because that was when we were with, I mean, Sabine, the Sabine chapters, but it was just Sabine and Alice. And it was like Alice's chapters that was taking place over like a couple of days. And it was just like all these chapters of this girl's inner thoughts and like her and this and like what's happening. And traipsing around town trying to figure out what's happening. And I was getting so annoyed with her. I was just like, I don't like, okay, what are we doing here? Like, I don't really, she's my least favorite. Like, I don't really like her. Like, Sabine is more interesting. Like, I'm seeing she's a terrible person, but like her chapters are so much more compelling. Like, I just don't care. Okay, Alice, I get it. Like, you don't know what's going on. And then by the end of it, I was like, Alice is my queen. I love her. Like, yes, I was so happy with the ending. Like, so happy. I was like, frick yes, girl. That's right. So I
know,
definitely
full
went
180
an emotional journey with like the characters.
So jumping from what you just said, another thing I put on my Google Doc was the side characters. I don't think I've read a book where I felt like the side characters were just as important as the main characters.
Yeah.
Like, I thought when Sabine tells it, you know how the guy she meets in Venice, I forget his name, but he has a boyfriend, Alessandro. When Alessandro dies, I literally shed a tear. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe he died. And then the whole Alice chapter, I know those dragged a little bit more, but I felt like, even though, well, we're already talking spoilers, right? Even though her sister dies, I felt like she was such a prominent character. And she was, right, in Alice's life.
Yeah.
But I feel like, again, like, just the writing, she did such a good job just like in making you believe this character, right? They were so complex and not just like, oh, this is her sister. And like, just the little story she told, you're able to realize, okay, she's not a good sister. Like, she
give a
care
good
about
picture of the relationship and the dynamic.
Yeah, I thought the side characters were pretty amazing. Even Ezra, like, I wanted to get to know him more, because in terms of vampire, I thought he was like the one that actually was doing a good thing. Like, he's trying to help other vampires, and I don't know. I guess I just want to know about more of these like side characters. And then we just never find out what happens to the other guy, right? Like, he leaves to go to America and we just never see him again.
Maybe
I did want to note before I forget, earlier we were talking about Charlotte and Sabine and like their dynamics and everything. And we were talking about how she doesn't have to keep letting the women, she doesn't have to keep going to these women. And I think that V. Schwab did a really good job of you initially feeling like, well, she has no choice because she made that promise. She can't harm her. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure some of the other vampires would help you take her out, because nothing prevented her from talking about it to other characters. And it seems like some of them also think Sabine seems terrible. And I'm like, we could have had a cool showdown where we like set Sabine up for a trap, and we don't do that at all. So I'm like, you didn't really try that hard. Really care. You didn't try that hard. Yeah. And I think there's a part of her that didn't want necessarily to have to be the one to face Sabine. Yeah. I don't think she, even after everything.
Of, makes me think of the Vampire Diaries, like you mentioned. Someone in the Vampire Diaries would have figured a way out of this curse, of this, this connection. They would have been like, I have all this time on this earth. I'm going to figure out how to reverse this, how to kill her, how to do something.
After Charlotte leaves, right, when she leaves Sabine, her and Sabine don't see each other again for years, right? Like, and like, Sabine wasn't a danger to Charlotte. She was a danger to everyone else around her.
Yeah.
Like, you could we'll talk about, because we're pretty close to being set up to the abusive aspects of their relationship, but because Ingrid, you mentioned the side characters, two things. The vampire who was with Alessandro was his name, right? The one that died. When he brings in that obnoxious guy, it's like, I don't know what it was, but that was so relatable. That feeling of like, everybody's like, dude, why are you with this guy? Do you remember who I'm talking about?
When Matteo starts dating Gio after Alessandro dies, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, when he brings in this other guy who's like, oh, when can we just go like kill people, you know? And he's so annoying. He's so annoying. And and Sabine's just sitting there like, what are you doing? Everybody can tell he's just trying to bring in a new model. We'll just replicate. He's pretty, you know. And you're just like, oh my gosh, it's weird, because it's like, when are we ever gonna meet a vampire who is trying to replace his previous human lover. Like, that's not a relatable thing, but that discomfort with that moment of like, oh, everybody can see it. It's like when somebody brings it's like when somebody brings in a much, much younger person and they're like, this is my new partner, and everybody's like, what are you doing? Like, it's that just, you know, you're like, okay, we can all see you're going through a crisis right now. You just never came to terms with it. So that part was really, it was just like a compliment to this random little moment that happened. But anyway, the sister, of which this is not a random little moment, this is a big thing. Caddy was her name, right? So she, I feel like she captured the feeling of a troubled child into a troubled teen who it just feels like nobody knows how to help so well. And I just constantly, the whole book, I just wanted her to talk to somebody. Nobody was really, I think, equipped to handle what she was going through. And she obviously wasn't able to assess her own emotions, and she wasn't thinking clearly, because I know, Ingrid, you pointed out she just felt such bitterness toward everyone else, and she felt like, oh, they don't even care about mom. And when it was so sad when Alice called the stepmom mom, and then Caddy was like, oh, she saw it as a betrayal, and all these, where it's just such a, you can see it's unreasonable, but at the same time she's so obviously still grieving. And there's a part of me that was wondering if why, because she asks Alice, like, you remember her, right? And this feeling of, I think she knew that she was the only one who, not that her dad didn't love the mom, because it seemed like he did very much, but because he got remarried, it felt like I'm the only one that remembers mom. And I think she just felt so alone in that. And I think there was a part of her that could tell that maybe her sister didn't really remember her either. And it was just like, I haven't seen too often that, you know, quote unquote troubled child. I feel like that's not a great term, but the way that she is represented was so well done and so tragic, because I knew, like, when the phone call started happening, you're like, oh, please somebody find her. It was really very devastating. I thought she was really well done. So to your point, the side character, she's not even actually alive for present day at all, but she still felt like she was a main character.
Yeah, she was. The like buildup of that too. I was like, I feel like I know. I know
what's gonna happen
here. Oh no. Just because she was giving enough clues and enough like hints with how we were like thinking about her, where I was like, oh, I feel like I know what happened. And yeah, I felt so bad for her too. And anytime I read something like this where it's like so obvious that this child is struggling emotionally and mentally with like a pretty big thing, you know, and like it's not like she was like making like, oh, I'm suppressing my feelings and like no one knows how I feel, because that I can understand. If a child is really good at like hiding their feelings and shoving their feelings down and like to everyone else behaving normally, I can understand and empathize with parents who are like, I had no idea like that they were struggling like this, like they didn't tell me. But when it's like this, where I'm like, can someone have a conversation with her? Can we sit down and like have a chat? Like the dad, like I just was like getting so frustrated too with like her family, with her dad specifically, because I'm like, he's got to have seen these like little outbursts. Yeah, and like these like she's struggling in like at least an attempt, multiple attempts of like having conversation or trying to find a therapist if you can. But I know that's a resource not everyone can do. But like it didn't even seem like he like tried to like talk her through these things. And maybe I'm too harsh on parents with stuff like that, but I'm like, it's obvious that your child is like severely struggling with something and like lashing out for a reason. Like she's not just being a bad kid. Like she's got some stuff going on and she needs someone to like talk to
it
her.
really was very tragic. You're right. You know, just so the sad. Whole time we're watching this like train wreck and you're not going to be able to stop it. Yeah,
definitely.
I felt like the dad, I think he definitely loved her. I think he wanted to be there for her. He just, I think in his own way, had no idea how. And he was, my guess is he was also in his own way, because we were talking about the idea. Yeah, he's grieving and like the suppression. I think it was to confront. Yeah, I think to
Yeah.
have that conversation with his daughter would be to confront the loss of his wife, and I think he just wanted to be like, oh, she's gone, but she's gone.
We're
So, and he
moving
didn't. I don't
on.
think he wanted. Yeah, I think he was ready to move on, not because he was literally ready, but because he so badly wanted to not have to think about the loss of his life
Yeah.
partner. Because I think they mentioned that he really loved the wife,
Yeah.
the mom. So, and I think he loved his new wife too, but I think it was just so difficult for him to talk about because I don't think he really does. I don't think we actually see him talk about her basically at all. It was just Alice's memory of like, oh, and we were a happy family. But I like how the dad's solution to the daughter was like, oh, she'll go drink at the pub, basically, right? It was like she wasn't literally drinking, but she would. Didn't the grandpa or a family member have a pub and she would just go hang out with him, the grandpa, and like, so basically go drink away your sorrows. Again, she wasn't literally, as far as we know, getting drunk as a kid with the grandpa, but it was essentially like go down to the pub and you'll feel better kind of a thing. And I just don't, I think that's a very accurate representation of how a lot of people don't deal with their grief, I'll say. The inability to actually look it in the eye. I think it was her and her dad were a contrast of each other, of she was looking at it too much and she couldn't escape it, and he was trying everything in his power to escape it. And then Alice is just stuck in the middle, watching her family fall apart and wanting to be there for them and not knowing how. So yeah,
I think that's like an added layer of like why I was so happy with the ending too. Because like you've been saying, you guys both have been saying, like, her sister wasn't a good sister. She was really like mean to her. She was very harsh with her and very like unreasonable in her expectations, and just we know why she was going through it, but like, and she was a kid, whatever, but like she wasn't very nice, but yet Alice was like idolizing her and just like, oh my God, I just love you though. And that was like, dragging her down a lot. And she was very much like a pushover kind of doormat type of person, just like letting people kind of talk to her however, or do whatever, treat her kind of however, and like suppressing her own like, hey, I feel hurt or I feel whatever. And so seeing the ending and her like get back, I was like, frick yes, girl. And I would love like a sequel or spinoff or something following her and seeing her get to like live her best vampire life.
Her just taking out all the creepy guys.
Doing something like that. Yeah. Like, oh, that would be so good.
I will say that one guy was creepy, but he wasn't like the worst of people. So I was kind of like, I mean, I don't know if he deserved to get eaten,
I like where her head's at, but maybe
the one in the car.
Yeah. He was a creeper for sure, but it was like, I know, because she thought she was on board.
Well, the thing is, she's the one that went into his car, right? And she was like giving him like mixed signals, basically. But yeah, I agree.
I will say, I think at one point she was like, no, never mind. And he's like, well, come on. Or, he had kind of that dumb, like, vibe. But, I mean, that was like, at that point she was like, she was so hungry for, she hadn't really, Lily's here. But I feel like we've danced around the manipulation and abuse aspect of the story. And this was an unexpected strong theme in this book, I found, because I expected the notes of queer phobia and sexism given the different given the different time periods we're exploring, and the fact that we are, of course, looking at women who, at the very least, Sabine, I think we could say, was bisexual. And then Charlotte was obviously attracted to women. Alice was too. And so I knew that going in. I thought that's going to be a big part of it. But I wasn't expecting this part at all. And it was really, really well done. And I know, Joshana, you've made a whole video, right? Dedicated to, different books and everything. That
I think I wasn't surprised by it, just because I feel like I've read, well, maybe, and especially recently, but just in general, I feel like I've read a fair amount of like vampire fiction that definitely has. I think it's like it can be a common thing it's not all the time though, of course, but so I wasn't terribly shocked by it, seeing it there or like caught off guard or anything. But it was like the Sabine Charlotte like whole thing, just the emotional manipulation, obviously, like she even manipulated her into saying the thing that like was going to protect her forever. And because she knew she was going to be terrible to her, it's like Sabine knew you're going to want to kill me someday because of how I am already treating you and like what I know I'm probably going to do to you in the future. So let me manipulate you into saying this so that, trap you so that you can't. And just the, I don't know, the unnerving, like, now Ghost is here.
Like rotating cats.
Say hello.
Oh,
she's like staring at you guys.
Yeah, he is.
What a pretty girl.
Yeah, she's so cute. But yeah, just the stalking, like the stalking element of it was obviously that I think was like the most intense part of it. That feeling of like not being able to get away that Charlotte obviously had, and I think that obviously helped to make Charlotte such like a likable character and a sympathetic character. Because you're like, she's dealing with a lot. And yeah, just the stalking of her and that very unnerving feeling of like, I can't get away. I found really present. And I mean, even without like like in my situation, there was some like, I don't want to say stalking, but harassment, I guess, after like the severing of the relationship. But it was more so, oh my God, jeez, God, another cat coming in here. Sorry. But yeah, there wasn't stalking, but frick, what was I going to say? I was talking about harassment. God, these cats distracted me.
Well, I'll add while you're trying to remember is that part of why I feel like I really wanted so badly to feel that she was innocent is because she was basically groomed. So that was another component, because we know that Sabine's much older than her, and she's watched other people have some kind of bond, some kind of relationship, and then her only way of knowing how to have that for herself is basically to find somebody very young, very impressionable, somebody that she was seeking because they were basically easy to manipulate, and then just immediately forcing them into the fact that she brings the potential fiance. It's like, that's such a weird thing to do, and it's such a like, I'm claiming you and get rid of any traces of your past. And it was just the way that she was able to immediately lock on. And because Charlotte was pretty naive initially, quite naive. So I feel like that made her a very easy target for Sabine. But do you remember?
Yeah, I remember I was going on the track of like the trapped feeling when you are in the situation, still in the relationship, and like those feelings of like, I need to leave, but like for whatever multitude of reasons, the emotional manipulation happening, it's like you can't, even when you're actively like, but I need to though, and like I have to. It's like you don't have that like emotional and mental, like that door is closed and you're like trapped in there for some time until you're not. And which varies depending on the person and the situation and everything. But yeah, that was very, very present to me. Like even after they weren't together, like all that stalking and everything, that just feeling of like, I can't get out. I can't get away from her. I can't get out of this. Definitely made you feel for Charlotte, obviously.
I think a strange turning point for me with Charlotte, it was near the end. I mean, I'd already felt like she had crossed some lines, certainly, and the things that she was willing to justify. For a while, you recognized, like we were saying, she has been manipulated. She's been groomed, well, I think it's fair to say. But there's this point where it's like, she is now an adult. She's been living, especially when she'd been living alone for a number of years. You're like, okay, you're able to start to think more clearly for yourself. But the fact that when she tells Alice, if you kill the one that made you, then you'll get to go back to normal. And it's like, you also don't actually see anybody really, I think, as a person anymore. You just see them as a means to an end. And you're willing to manipulate now for the things that you want. You just come across so much more likable and easy to root for. And I think the reason why the ending I especially loved is because I found certainly Sabine was basically irredeemable. Charlotte was like, she kept kind of being on that line. That was not a good moment, as were a number of other ones. But I felt like because this is a really, really difficult topic to touch on, is at what point does somebody who has been put in these horrible situations, at what point do they need to be held accountable for their own actions? It's like a really tough line, because I think a lot of us can sympathize and recognize when at some point a person's mind isn't even able to escape, obviously literally physically escape, but then also the mental kind of cage that they find themselves in. But I think she did get to a point where she was able to live outside that cage, and she still made bad choices. So that was why when Alice killed her, I was like, yeah, she kind of she was crossing that line. She had passed it. It's weird when you like root for the main characters to die, but I was like, I don't know if there's another way around this. I think if we had tried to be like, oh, well, maybe her and Charlotte can be together now or something like that, that would have been way too go on, you know, the present sort of a situation, and that would not have been, I think, as satisfying. Ingrid, what were you thinking?
So I was just thinking of the fact that, like, I still believe this, right? Because I said that I feel like a lot of what happened in their human lives is what shaped them to be what they are. But then throughout the book, we get this idea of like decay, right? Like Mateo tells Sabine that vampires don't age, but we still decay. And I think we solidified that idea when we hear that Ezra's maker had like said that when I cross that line, like kill me. So I wonder if Sabine, right? And then later on we find out Charlotte, are they actually bad people, or is it just that their minds have finally decayed because it's been so long, right? Because we have to remember, like, Sabine was what, like 500, 600 years old.
Yeah.
And Charlotte was getting up there too by the time that she does everything she does with Alice. So I'm like, what is it, right? Because the book puts out this idea that vampires don't age, but they do decay. And I think that that's a very plausible thing, because, like, imagine living forever. Like, yeah, it sounds all fun and fantasy, but like when you get to that point, nothing matters. And then when nothing matters, then who cares, right? Like,
yeah. I thought that was a really cool aspect of like the vampire lore.
Yeah.
That was in there. I
liked that it was abstract and not necessarily concrete, though. It kind of left you always wondering, is that true? Or is it at some point they just succumb, they almost become lazy in their morality? And as society progresses and they're not trying anymore, is that what makes it seem like? I like that you're unsure, but because there's so much imagery with roses and flowers, because I have roses, and I've heard, I was trying to check really fast, I've heard that roses actually do have like a lifespan, that they don't, even if you take care of them and you water them and all of that, that eventually they will die. So there's a part of me that wonders if that's part of the idea of the roses within this as being this symbol, because of the idea like this isn't a plant that's going to last forever. It will get to a point where it will rot and die. I thought that was kind of interesting. Again, I'm not totally sure if that's true. I think it's true. I've watched some of my roses die for no reason. So not that my, lack of a green thumb is necessarily the best evidence, but it would be interesting if that was a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was very fascinating.
It really was.
I would like to think that if I lived forever, I would just get better and better.
Right?
Wouldn't we all?
These
just learn more, travel more, get to
read more
cultures. Yeah, read more about things, educate yourself more on everything.
The thing is that once the thing that you need to sustain yourself comes at
Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Dramatic.
Dramatic for sure.
Sorry.
What were you saying, Ingrid?
Once like the thing that you need to sustain yourself comes at the detriment of other people, right? Because like I think that's like such a fine line to just stop seeing other people as actually human and not. She's like not having it.
I know. Get down.
I would like to think that I would always be a good person too. Like, please let me live forever, but you never know.
Yeah, that's true. That is true.
Yeah, that's true. I sometimes have some pretty terrible thoughts, and
If you had a
then I'm
lack of
like,
impulse control.
yeah, you
And
just get
not
older, and
only,
you're like,
right? Not only do you require to, like, are you required to drink other people's blood and whatnot, but you also have the power to overpower people, right? You have like all
Yeah,
this like strength and speed
yeah.
and
Yeah. It's pretty.
Well, that was something. So, two things. One, I feel like I thought the writing was really good. I thought this was some of her best writing ever. But also, anytime she described what it was like for Alice, smelling the person's aftershave, the person's deodorant, what this one person had in their lunch, and she was queasy, I was starting to almost feel sick because she described those things so well. And I'm like, if I felt like that constantly and some blood would help me out, I would have such a hard time resisting. I'd be like, I gotta steal something from the blood bank. I can't feel like this for forever. So I thought that was a plus to her writing this go around. Oh, go ahead, Ingrid.
no, I was just thinking because you made me realize that like she kept the same lore as like when you're a newer vampire, it's harder to control yourself. And that made it even more obvious that Sabine just killed because she liked killing, because she could go for a long time without drinking blood, right? Like she learned that from Mateo, and she could control herself. She just didn't want to.
Yeah, she didn't feel like it.
No.
She didn't want to be told what to do at
No.
all. She hated authority of any kind. She's like, you're telling me I have to do this?
You're right,
No.
Elle. Like the point that she kills her maker, it's like no shit's given. Pardon my French.
Yeah.
Like she had no idea what she was doing, right? How she was going to survive, but she's like, nope. She has power over me, right? She realized that right away, that her maker had power over her, and she killed her.
Yeah. She said, ain't nobody gonna have power over me.
The way she thinks about her mother-in-law, I'm not gonna lie, it was kind of funny. I know it was really dark. The mother-in-law was just like, why aren't you giving us a son yet? And then she had memory issues, so then she would be openly talking about, at the time, Maria. She'd be talking about Maria she'd be talking to Maria about Maria, not realizing it was her, and she'd just be saying all these terrible things. And she thinks like about how she wants to push her down the stairs.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
And she's like, if I do have a child, we're gonna dance on your grave together or whatever. And she's just having these like horrible thoughts. And I was kind of amused. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
I know exactly where I was.
The lady was terrible. She sucked.
She was terrible.
Yeah,
that's why like
to
when she killed her, I'm like, yeah, more power to you. Yes, like you know.
Yeah,
but then she goes overboard.
Burns the whole place to the ground.
She really does.
Yeah, at that point you're like kind of into it. You're like,
oh yeah, I was totally into it. Yeah.
Girl.
Yeah. You were like, it was totally an accident what you did with the real Sabine. Like you didn't mean to. I can excuse that, but like get that stupid family.
Yeah.
You're like so pumped at first in a fictional, reading about fictional people kind of way.
You know what?
Yeah,
I
that
also
was kind of
thought,
satisfying.
I was questioning if she actually killed the real Sabine, because they make a point of saying that for you to kill a vampire, you have to destroy the heart. And like technically, drinking their blood, like, does that destroy the heart?
I don't know. She would have come back though, wouldn't she? Hey, get down.
Maybe she just ran away from her crazy ass. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe she was like, never mind. I thought I liked that character. I was like, she had it figured out. She knew how to run things. She was like trying to help people. She was cool.
Yeah, like lay low and like blend in and
Oh, you know what else I really liked that we didn't talk about yet is the scene that where Charlotte goes to see Jocelyn when Jocelyn is like old and senile, and Charlotte is still, like young and beautiful, and she thinks she's like hallucinating her, and she's like, I hope you found someone to love you.
So
I was
sweet.
like, oh, sad.
I forgot about
I know. Her brother sucked. Marrying her when he knew, I was like, what the heck, man? Her brother was a loser. The brother,
I just think it's because we're looking at it from like a lens of like modern times. Because I do think that her brother did what he thought was best to keep her from being like shamed or whatever like when he sends her away, especially not just marrying the girl, but like, yeah.
Oh yeah. I remember.
He sends her to London, remember, and that's how she meets Sabine. But I thought he did what he thought was best to save, because he could have completely effed her and told their parents, right? Like that would have completely
destroyed her life, which Sabine did later anyway. But
true.
Yeah, she lit it up pretty bad.
Yeah.
So kind of backfired. Oh, brother.
Just a bit.
Yeah, I did feel bad too for her friend. The one that
the
in
one
that
that
moment
suppressed.
was really sad. Yeah,
that was really
I felt bad for her.
I remember there was one spot that well, I don't know. I'll wait in case you have
No, go for it. Go
ahead.
I would say there was one, like some of like the weak spots for me, I guess. There was only like two things really. Because initially I was kind of like, all right, these Alice chapters or whatever, but then by the end of it I was totally
I know I agree with you on one of them.
One of them we talked about the whole thing towards the end when Charlotte is telling her story and we keep being in Charlotte's POV, learning her story, fascinating, compelling. I'm into it. And then we jump back to Alice's POV in 2019 of her being like, can you get on with the story already? And then Charlotte's like, we must tell the whole tale. Await, young Padawan. And I'm like, oh my God, I want you to get on with it now too. Yeah. Shut up. Or at least just say, hey, this is the deal. Here's the end result, but I want to tell you the backstory so you understand fully, okay? Like, just say that. Or I wish we just wouldn't have kept jumping back to Alice's POV.
Alice?
Like, just stay in Charlotte's. We're cool. We're having a good time here. Let's just remain there for a while. I don't care about you and Alice sitting in this room and her being annoyed and impatient. Like, I don't care. It's making me impatient as well. So that like bothered me a little bit, but it was short-lived. It just was like, it went on a couple too many times where I was like, okay.
It was also a little plot convenience because I'm like, I think you could just say, I have a crazy ex that always tries to come after the people that
you
I'm
could
with.
just,
that's all you had to say.
Here, let me tell you the backstory. You could have just started with that and like explained it like pretty straightforward. But then it felt like weird to me. I don't know, maybe I missed something. It's like such a nothing thing also where, when she was with the two other vampires, I don't remember their names or anything, but she was with them for a good long while, like at least, that's my mom's name. And they were like 15 years into being together and they still hadn't like told her anything about anything. And it was just like kind of weird to me when they initially met her. They were like, oh, we have some things we gotta teach you. Like, don't worry, girl, come with us.
Are you talking about Sabine or Charlotte?
Sabine, I think it was, right?
Because Charlotte also meets a couple that help her.
I don't know. Whoever it was that they were with them. And then like 15 years in, she does something dumb. And they literally say to her, I forgot how little you know. And I was like, well, then teach her. You said 15 years ago you were going to teach her some stuff. What do we even do for 15 years? I mean, I know for vampires, 15 years isn't as long to us, but like, it's not like a day. Like, I found that really like, what? Why would
I think they manipulated her too, because I don't know if you remember, but she makes her promise not to ever leave them. I don't know if you remember that part.
It was Sabine that I'm thinking.
Yeah, it was Sabine.
You are. So you're both right. So Hector,
I read it like in
Renata,
May, so I don't remember everything.
Yeah. So they do what Ingrid's describing, where they make her make this promise to them. And I think you're right that you're like, how have they not told her this? But I think they purposefully kept her in the dark about a lot of stuff.
It was something like she did something dumb that was like dangerous or something.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. When she like,
I don't know. She did something that they were like, oh, you can't do that. But we should have told you that. And I'm like, yeah, you should have.
She
bumps
in. I think she like bumps into something and almost gets stabbed through with a wooden
stake.
Or something.
Yes,
the wood, right?
Yes. Yeah. And then they're like, oh gosh, we got it. And I'm like, you said 15 years ago you're going to teach. You didn't teach her this. What?
I think they thought I think what happened is they're like, you didn't know that. I think they didn't even know to teach her that because they're like, they just thought, of course you know this.
To teach her that.
Because I think that's when they ask about her maker. They're like, oh, didn't your maker tell you any of this?
Yeah, I think
And
it just
then,
like that little thing of them initially
yeah,
saying, "We got some things we got to teach you," and then 15
yeah,
years later being like,
Sabine's not bumped into anything all
"What? You
this
didn't know
time, you
this?"
know.
Yeah, and I'm like,
I
She
know.
didn't know because you didn't. You said you were going to teach her stuff, and then you haven't. Like, what do
The
we? I just if
least
that line hadn't
clumsy
been there,
person.
yeah,
Yeah,
if the line of like we have to teach you some things wouldn't have been there, I wouldn't have.
yeah,
I would have been like, oh yeah, they
Yeah.
haven't. But I
Yeah.
was like, why
I
did we
think
say
that
that?
yeah, that makes sense. I think she should have like bumped into something or fallen down before that moment. You know, it shouldn't have been that many years in.
Yeah,
I did want to
it would
note
have been
and kind of
better.
compliment something that I thought the book did really well, which is I've found oh, you're good. That someone like my mom for oh Shonda's little picture is cute. So you know, my mom is somebody who throughout her life has had people follow her and be like really creepy and weird to her. And it's an experience that when she shares it with somebody who's never had that happen, they're always like, wow, I didn't know it was like that. And it's usually a man not realizing just how predatory people can be. Like, you can't walk home at night, you take different routes home because you're always fearful, you have to check your car, you know, all these things that women will often do to protect themselves because we just exist even in modern day, let alone in this book. Obviously we're going through different points in time, but there are so many instances where whether it's society at large or it's a specific individual like Sabine with her husband, where there is power being held over you. And I felt like what this book did that was really interesting was because all of your perspectives are women, that once they have a level of power, that they are able to then be the predators. It's just such a reversal of like what would it be like to finally be like Alice. Is it Alice that experiences that where she realizes like,
yeah,
oh, I can actually just like go for a walk and I don't have to be afraid or something like that,
yeah,
where you're like, yeah, I mean, it takes that level of power for her to feel comfortable, even a little bit, just like going wherever. Shoshana, you might have walked out of the room, but did you catch that?
No, I had to go feed the
Oh, I
cats.
was talking about how, as ladies, oftentimes you have to go out of your way to feel safe because of just society or individual relationships, like what we were talking about with Sabine and her husband. And the role reversal of because our perspectives are all women, that once they have the power, it's like, oh, they're the predators now.
Yeah.
And it just like makes you realize just how much power you don't really have in general. It's not just a gender thing, of course. It can just depend on your circumstances, where you live. There's all sorts of different kinds of power structures, but I think
Yeah.
V. Schwab maybe was trying to make note because I think there were times where Alice in present day is realizing like I can go do XYZ fill in the
Yeah,
blank
things
thing
that
and
would
I
be
know I'm
dangerous
gonna be
for a
safe. Yeah.
girl. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's valid. I agree.
So that role reversal was, I think, one of the best instances of that, because I think it's hard to demonstrate so often in stories. It's just we have characters that are like tiny, but they're so feisty and that makes them strong or whatever, you know, where it's like doesn't really feel as earned. And in this case, you're like, you've seen how powerful the vampires are. You've also seen how much power somebody like Sabine's husband, Andres, I think was his name, how much power that he had over her. Can I just say, if he had just like even tried a little bit to consider how things were going, I think their relationship would have gone. She even asked him like, "Hey, what's it like?" And there's like no part of you that's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
I should try." You know, like, man,
None.
yeah.
I know. I
And
was
when he's
thinking
like,
about
"This
that.
is
I'm
an
like,
inappropriate thing to talk about. How dare you?" I'm like,
yeah.
okay.
I know. I thought about that. I'm like, I really feel bad for all these women back in the day. Like, was that? Oh, I hope that wasn't always a thing. That there were
I think
some men out
it was
there.
a much more prevalent thing though,
I
100%.
know.
And it was not a polite thing to discuss even with your freaking spouse. Like, how stupid.
I remember
How dare.
in Anti-Darken when the character overhears the women talking about like enjoying themselves, and she's like, "That can happen." You know, like, because
Yeah.
she didn't know. She had no idea.
Yeah.
She just thought like it'll be painful someday, and
Yeah.
that's that.
Yeah.
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 That was one of the whole prey versus predator thing is one of the things in my Google Doc. Actually, I
Nice.
thought it was cute.
Nice.
Okay, so Joshana mentioned some stuff that she didn't like. One of the things, and I think this was the biggest thing for me, is I don't know, Elle, if you noticed this. It kept bringing me out of the story.
Okay.
The repeating of words. Like, did you notice that?
I
I
was
didn't
like,
really notice.
I'm like, am
At
I
least
like,
I don't remember
what's going
noticing.
on here? Like, and then at first I only noticed like at the end of sentences where she would like repeat the same thing, like, 3 times. And then I'm like, okay. And she did it once and twice and then 3 times. And I'm like, oh my, what is going on? So then I had to literally tell myself, okay, stop noticing that, like, just pay attention to the story. But then after I was like telling Joshana, I'm like, I'm gonna go over this and like start tabbing so that I can see like how
How
many
many
times
times?
it happens. Well, when I started going over it, not only does she do it at the end of sentences, there's sentences that she does it in the beginning. Like the same word will be used for like 3 consecutive lines. And I think she was trying to do this like to be like
Like a
flowery.
stylistic choice.
Yeah,
intentional. Yeah.
intentional. I know for sure it wasn't like
She had no
carelessness.
idea that she did it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
It didn't work for you.
it didn't work. Not at all. Not at all. I'm like, can we
I think
stop repeating the same thing?
this is, I think, way more present in Addie LaRue. I think Addie LaRue is the most because it's so like, I think it's actually pronounced cyclical, but I like cyclical.
Yeah,
But it's like
Yeah.
this whole kind
cyclical
of like
sounds better for sure.
swirly, ethereal. Oh,
Yeah.
we're just like we're existing, in the ether feeling
Floating
in that book. So I
around.
feel like the writing feeling like repetitive and flowing constantly. And I think it has more of this, it creates this like legato slurred feel, if I want to use music references. But I think Bury Our Bones, it did that, but not as much. And so it always just felt like liquidy. And I feel like that contributed to that sort of sinister feel. But it is her thing. I like it because there's like a musicality to it, like a rhythm
Yeah.
almost. And I
Yeah, to
like
me it
it,
seemed like a
but she does it a lot.
poem.
She did it more in Addie
Yeah.
LaRue, I think. But in this one, it's still there.
Yeah, it was driving me nuts. I had to literally stop and be like, okay, I know it's annoying you, but stop paying attention
Question.
to it.
Just go with it.
Did
Yeah.
you only read the physical copy, or was this the audiobook aspect that was annoying you?
No, I did both.
Did both. I find
Yeah, I
that this
did.
is more frustrating reading it because you like, especially when it's the beginning of paragraphs
Yes.
and like each line, like because you see the word, you keep seeing
Yes.
it, and you're just like, ugh, like you're like, use something
Throws
else.
you off.
Stop
Yeah,
it.
I think there is a lack of visual artistry to it. But I think that's why the rhythm of it. This is not going to be a whole thing. I'm just curious. I think it's the term is subvocalize. Do you subvocalize when you read?
Like hear a voice or like in
Mm-mm.
your head.
Yeah, like you read the sentences in your head.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
mean,
hear
everybody,
a
I think,
sound when I'm reading. Like, does that make sense? I just read.
Yeah, I
Like,
don't
I
I
don't
so
hear
in my
can't
head
my
that
determine
brain
if I
doesn't.
do or don't
so
do it. I don't know if I do
oh,
it or not.
I 100% do it, but I actually think that this plays a role in enjoyment of different writing styles because I think writing styles that are more repetitive. I think that if you don't, I think it depends. Like if it depends. Repetitive is probably not the right way to put it, but I just describing it as like a rhythm. So if in my head, like let's say I'm not listening to the audiobook and I'm reading, I know I subvocalize, so there is kind of like a cadence, and it might be a cadence that I'm putting in myself, but there's like a cadence that sometimes works for me depending on the author and how they go about things, and then other authors it doesn't work, some it does. But I think for some people, if they don't subvocalize as strongly and it's more of like a visual and it's like an irritation to see it
Yes,
multiple times. I wonder if that's a factor
it must
for
be
some
because
people.
I don't like when I read, I just read like I don't hear, you know? Like I
Yeah.
don't read to
Yep.
myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I
I
read
just
to
read.
myself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was very annoying. And the thing is like it kept pulling me out, right? Because I'm like, why is she doing this? And
I
then
need
just
to
trying to
ask
mention,
because
It's like you notice
go
and you
ahead.
can't
sorry.
unnotice it.
No, because
Yeah.
then just trying to mention like, oh well, it like it's one of those things like, people say that Sarah J. Maas does a lot of M dashes. And I said, "Oh, you know who else does a lot of M dashes? V.E. Schwab," because I was looking, you know, at
I
the
like
word.
a good M dash. I know they can be
It works.
overused, but
I will
I
give
like
you that.
yeah.
It works in certain parts, like, especially
Yeah.
when we're in, like, Alice's point of view and she's, like, having a thought and it, like, it bleeds into, like, something else. I think the M dashes really help to, like, highlight that. Um,
Yeah.
but she uses it a lot, a lot.
Yeah, for me, ellipses and like period drives me up a wall. I can't handle
Yeah.
the overuse of ellipses. I don't mind it here and there, of course, because you use it for dramatic effect essentially, or
Yes.
other uses of it, wandering thoughts, And
Yeah.
then for me, you need to use the period thing sparingly. I cannot
Yeah.
stand when it's overused because that just feels like, when people put clapping emojis between words and like
That's what it
comment
feels
section. That's how
Yeah. It feels like that.
So I will say, Ingrid, because this is a really interesting point. First off, I have a friend that also feels similar to you about the writing style that V.E. Schwab has. So I'm going to ask her if she finds that she subvocalizes or not. And then also, I find what's more irritating to me is authors who don't vary sentence structure. So I would rather there's like this intentional repetition that is obviously going to be, hit or miss, but I would rather that or the use of M dashes or like the varying of with a semicolon, whatever, that kind of stuff. I'd rather that over feeling like the sentence structures are always incredibly basic or they always feel kind of almost run on sentence esque. Because to me,
Mhm.
I think it comes back to the almost rhythm and cadence of it is I want like complexity and variety. And when it's just the
Mhm.
same old all the time, I'm just like, mix it up, like give us it doesn't
Yeah.
flow. Cause I think about like the flow of an individual paragraph too sometimes. And
Yeah.
then when things are picking up, then it's like you expect there to be shorter sentences and it's more staccato and it matches the feeling. And I just think that's why I think writing style is such a cool thing to talk about.
No, it is, and I don't think that's the thing, like, I don't hate her writing style, like, I think she's actually very good at what she does, like, I liked the fact that I don't know if you guys remember this, but in Alice's point of view, when she's having a memory of her and Kat, the structure of the page changes, like, when she's in
Mhm.
that, like,
Yeah.
remembering, like, it's literally just, like, a spacing thing, but it makes like, it's a visual cue so that you
Cue.
know that it's not her thoughts, she's remembering something that happened with Kat, and I thought that was very well done. Um, but yeah, I found myself, and maybe you're right, maybe it's because I was physically reading it, because I don't remember feeling like this with Addie LaRue, and I'm pretty sure I listened to the audiobook in
Oh,
Addie
that's
LaRue.
funny because I think Addie LaRue is
It
guiltier of the thing you're
Yeah,
talking about. I
but
think, I think if I'm remembering
for
correctly.
this, I was, I started it as a book and I was loving it so much, I just kept reading, both, like, doing a mixture, and yeah. I don't know, it was it and I only let myself be annoyed by it for, like, the beginning of the book, and then
You're allowed to be annoyed.
I know,
It's a
but I'm
cute
like,
way you worded it though.
I think if I didn't tell myself, like, "You need to stop," I wouldn't have let myself enjoy the book because I kept paying attention
Yeah.
to the
Well, it
style
kept
of
pulling
the
you out.
writing. Yeah.
Yeah. I hate it when that
Um,
happens, when you just, like,
yeah,
catch it's happened to me in, like, rereads of books where I'm
yeah.
like, "I didn't this one particular word you, like, are obsessed with, and I did not
And
notice it
I
the
and I
first
like
time." It,
I'm
like,
not,
pulls
you
me
guys know, I'm not the person to I don't nitpick things, so I hate when I find myself nitpicking, like, "Who
like,
are you?
feeling like
Like,
you're
stop doing that."
nitpicking.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
okay. I think it's completely reasonable for
I
something
also
to
hate nitpicking things.
Yeah, I'm like, "Stop it, just read the
you
book."
can't even say that. Come on.
I'm like, "They said a stupid sentence in dialogue, I'm out."
Hey, sometimes it makes a pretty big
It
difference. There have been
does.
times where something will happen and I'm just like, I just can't I
I
can't
can't
come back
continue.
from this.
We're done. We're
There's
done.
no return.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes, for
Yeah.
me, no one's gonna agree with this. I came back from it, I will say. But Ingrid, to make you feel a little bit better, I'm gonna give a really weird comparison. But I think you watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, the original cartoon.
Yes.
Okay, I am like one of very few people that doesn't like the beach episode. Like, I get that it's supposed to be cheeky and it's supposed to be poking fun at the kind of quintessential usually filler beach episode that we get. Like, I get it, but I'm like, I don't like it. Zuko's cooler than this. Like, I just don't like that episode. And I'm like, this is rough for me. And I know nobody agrees. I know nobody agrees with me. Sean kind of agrees with me, but he's the only one. So I feel you. When something just irks you, it just sometimes things just irk you, and that's okay.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Did you have anything that you didn't like about the book?
I agreed very much with what Deshauna was saying. The coming out of the Charlotte POV to have Alice be like, so give me more information. I actually think it was probably the only like plot weak. Well, I don't want to say only because there's probably other things too, but it was the most glaring plot convenience thing that she did, where it's like, I need to find a way to tell you Charlotte's story, and I need to give Alice motivation to kill Charlotte. So let's just have Charlotte give her this entire, because I was sitting there thinking, oh, she's giving us the information, but Charlotte's giving Alice a quick summary. And I'm like, oh, I guess she's giving her like a play.
She's giving her the whole thing too. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, she doesn't need to do that. That's not what's happening. So I kind of had to just suspend. Everything else is so good that I'm like, it's fine. You know, I can excuse as long as it's not constant. I think sometimes for the sake of brevity, I'm like, I get why we're just kind of like, the pacing, it would have been weird if all of a sudden this wasn't utilized in some fashion to tie Charlotte and Alice together. You know, I just feel like it was okay, but it was probably for me the only like weakness that was kind of it's hard. I don't know if there's other people out there that are like, I loved that part. I think it's understandable if other people, it wasn't enough to ruin the book for me, but that was my thing as well. I'm trying to think if there's, I mean, I liked so much of this. I think maybe, and once again, Deshauna, I think you and I actually agree with this. Some of Alice's initial POVs, I get why we were running through every single itty bitty detail, but like it fed into the feeling of like anxiety and you're in your head and she's running through everything. I think it represented the character well, but sometimes we'd come back to Alice and it was kind of the same thing. And not just the same thing to reiterate her character. It was like, I felt like it was almost the same scene again of just like, now she's feeling queasy in this place, now she's queasy over here, you know, like I don't know that I needed
there. She's queasy everywhere.
So I don't know if
I don't know if it's because it's set in Boston, but I enjoyed Alice's point of view because like she was going places that I know, right? So I'm like, oh my god, like we're going to Harvard Yard, like. So
I think that's what it was. It was just like a little repetitive of like,
it was
we've established this. We've established her character and this thing about her character. I get it. It had me thinking like, I get it.
I get it. Yeah.
But not too bad.
If this were ever, now I am actually somebody who's coming around to, I prefer most things to not be adapted because I think most people can't adapt fantasy well. It's just time and time again, adaptations suck. I think this one could be adapted really, really well. If it was, I would want it to maybe be like a 1 season long show because I feel like
a limited
you get this one character, you don't really know how these characters are connected. You're like, who cares about this Alice girl? That Sabine lady, like her point of view is interesting. Well, who was up with that apothecary witch lady, the widow? What's going on with her? You know, like you're in for the ride. When she kills the original, the OG Sabine, you'd be like, what? I just feel like that would be such a good single season show. So I really would like this adapted personally. I'm curious if it were to be, would you want it to be adapted? And if it were, how would you want it to be adapted? What do you think, Ingrid?
Definitely. Like, I honestly am not against like adaptations at all. Like, I mean, sometimes they suck and it is what it is, but I always want to see like what I imagine if it's on what they come up with, you know?
Yeah.
I think that Netflix could do a good job at this, like a limited series type thing. HBO I think would do fine too, but definitely like live action, not like I want to see them on screen.
One of the few fantasy books that I'd be like, actually live action would work really well.
Yeah, I agree. Because vampires are not hard to do, right? Like it's not.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of things that require a lot of CGI are harder to do well.
Magic.
But
but
I feel like this would be done well. Like, I almost want to, like, if I could talk to V. Schwab, I almost want to ask her, like, so how many times did you watch True Blood? Because I feel like the vampire lore is very similar to what we're used to in True Blood.
I think that some of it is just vampire lore because the whole like them not being able to enter a place is pretty common. I will say Alice's perspective, if you've watched What We Do in the Shadows,
I watched it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So the show, I haven't actually seen the movie, but some of the, you know, when that one girl at her campus is turned into a vampire, she doesn't know it. She's like, I'm really sick and stuff. I was like, this isn't funny, but like I'm kind of amused because I'm just remembering these things from that show. But I don't know if any of this was original V.E. Schwab vampire lore or if it was mostly she was kind of
I've not seen before myself, which is not to say that it doesn't exist, because it's not like I've read all the vampire things by any stretch of the imagination. But the thing about like them just like eventually like descending into madness and getting old and rotting and decaying, I haven't seen that before.
Yeah, no, me neither.
I don't know if it's elsewhere, but that's why I kept like a unique thing.
That's why I kept being like, do they? Or are they just succumbing to their, you know, baser instincts? That's kind of what
I definitely saw Sabine as like becoming more and more just like animal and like crazy. Like she was descending into like she was always like a kind of power hungry and like pretty early on, maybe not the most moral person, and becoming a vampire did not help that. But like she was fully like I was like, I feel like I'm watching this descent into like true madness and just like genuine insanity a little bit. So I feel like it was true. But
I do too, and not in just like the Sabine part. You could argue, right, that that's her, but then V. Schwab makes a point to talk about Ezra's maker, that he asked them to kill him when he gets to that point. So I'm like, this must be part of the lore, you know?
I hope we get like sequels or spin-offs.
I guess that's the point, right? Like you're kind of like, is it or is it not?
Right. That's what I think I still held to. Like, I think that it's become something that they have told themselves enough times, because it's not like, well, it wasn't until she had this concept introduced to her that we have it introduced to us. And then we're like, is that a thing? And it's I just kind of like the not knowing.
We didn't see on Page any vampire at the end of their vampire existence.
Yeah, you don't see any of them like rampaging because they've lost control completely, and
or like
the ones that
rotting their body, because they said like their body still like rots and decays. We didn't see anyone on Page. So who knows?
True.
They just kill each other at some point.
Or humans end up killing them like they did with the couple in the church.
Joshana, if it were adapted, how would you want it adapted?
I feel like definitely a TV show, just because I think a movie for this, like, it would have to be like a series of movies for it to like have everything in it to any degree, which I mean, movie adaptations can cut stuff out sometimes, but like, I don't know, it just wouldn't make sense. I don't think it would need to be.
You wouldn't feel those shifs, I think.
And because there's so many like little scenes of this and that, like it could be very episodic. And I think that could be really good. I feel like it would even maybe need to be like 2 seasons, but
you think
that might
depends on how many episodes and how long the episodes are.
How long they are and what they include. And
here's my one thing that I would be like, you got to do this. Besides the usual, like, get good actors, all that stuff. You have to get somebody involved who's really good at like period designs. You know, like having the clothing be accurate to the time, the colors that are like you need, because the shows that do it well, you feel the difference. It looks less like some of them. It looks like something you would get at Party City. And then some of it, you're like, oh, that looks really good. And I would need them to do it justice. I want to see Sabine with like her emerald or whatever, you know, like I need to see the jewelry needs to look authentic, the colors, the clothes, the cuts.
Have you guys watched The Buccaneers on Apple TV?
No.
It's like a period drama, and it's set in like the 1800s, about these girls that are American, and you know how a lot of American people at the time came into like new money, and then there's these girls are sent to London to find like lords to be husbands, but they're kind of like crazy, right? Because they're like, oh, we're American, and they're like, I think the costumes in that show they're really good.
It sounds fun. I want to watch it.
It is fun. It's because these girls are like, they're new money, right? So they're almost like way more careless, and like they do what the heck they want to do. Uncouth, yeah. And then they go to London where people like don't even talk at the dinner table, like, and
They have no manners.
Is it meant to be a comedy?
No, it's like a actual.
Oh, you said it's a period drama, right?
Drama, yeah. I mean, it's like there's there's funny scenes and whatnot. But one of the girls marries a lord, and they meet like randomly in one summer, and they're like, oh, we're so in love. And then she has to move to London, and she's like, oh, like, it's like a shock to her because it's not like what she's used to.
This is making me think about all those weird influencers who try to make it look like they have the old money aesthetic. Have you seen this? Like, you can rent out these like castles basically to have dinner parties, and then so you can post all this, and you're like, super rich old money people aren't posting about their wealth on social media, right? Like they're so rich you don't even know that they exist.
Yeah,
that's what, and you're over here like, look at this beautiful candlelit boat ride I'm on in this like suit and gown, and you're just like, okay. It's so dumb. Sorry, they're really funny to me. Anyway, any last thoughts? We got a show recommendation. Obviously, we should be, we should counsel whoever's going to make an adaptation of this. They should come to us because it would be really good.
And
I can send them my Google Doc.
Yeah, send your Google Doc. Here's your resources. And everyone peer pressure V.E. Schwab into making a sequel and or spinoff.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yes, of course.
Did you see? Have you guys looked into any of what V.E. Schwab has said about this book at all?
0%.
I've seen some stuff.
Okay,
but not.
I thought it was really cool because she talks about, her queerness is like the different characters are the different stages in her queerness.
Oh, interesting.
So like,
I do remember that she. Oh, you probably are gonna say it. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think at one time she said she was bisexual, and then she realized, like, I think I'm just lesbian.
Yes.
Okay.
I think, and then she talks about how, Alice and the anxiety is like her beginning, and how even when she began, so she ties that into the beginning of her writing career, and how she, her name is very like ungendered. Like she didn't even want to portrayed that she was a woman, and then she went into like being okay, now I'm bi, and that's like Charlotte, right? She's coming into herself. And then this book, she talks about how this is like the most she has ever put herself in a book, and she relates the most to Sabine as a character. And I thought that was kind of cool, like, because she's like the villain,
That's really fascinating. Yeah,
I will say, I feel like trying to write horrible characters is like a practice in tapping into the worst sides of yourself, because I've done this before where I've like, it's kind of like something I'll do as almost writing practice is, I'm not going to give details about politics right now, but I tell myself, I'm like, if I was somebody's campaign manager and I don't actually agree with them, but I'm trying to spin something in a way that looks good for them, or come up with a catchphrase or something, like, how would I go about it? And I feel like that's a good practice for pretending like you don't care about consequences, the rest of society. You're just trying to like attain something. I feel like that really taps into trying to understand certain characters. And it's kind of fun. It's kind of a fun practice to see like the worst of yourself and what the darker sides of your brain that you can tap into. I like that V.E. Schwab's like, I connect with Sabine. It's got to be the like pushing the old lady down the stairs. It's got to be that part. That's got to be what she connects with. Somebody mildly irritated her. They stopped on like the stairs, and she was in a hurry, and she's like, if only I could push this person. That's probably, we've all thought somebody is listening to music too loud, and you're just or they're driving and they cut you off, and you're like, I really want to blow out their tires. Like, just
I've never had such a thought.
Oh, yeah, the amount of times you've messaged us,
Yeah.
boxered us, and been like, this stupid, like in the middle of sending us a message. And then you're like, oh,
Yeah.
sorry, somebody was like, all it is if they pull out of a parking spot too slow. That's enough to set you off.
Or they don't use their blinker when they're
Yeah.
turning, or they turn too slow. Yeah.
When people
Turning
turn too
too
slow,
slow.
I literally want to blow up their
I
car.
become a
Like,
rage
you don't
monster.
deserve to be here, sir.
I'm like,
Yeah, if I'm driving, I'll be like, go, and then I'm like, sorry, anyway, and then I'm back to being like, there's this really cute puppy I saw.
Yeah, right.
You know, like flip flopping.
Same,
Yeah, so true.
same.
I don't, maybe feminine rage is just us annoyed at the other drivers,
For sure.
That's when it really comes out. Because like Sean always calm when driving. My dad was calm while driving. It's like me, you for sure. Ingrid, I haven't heard you if you have road rage or not, but
My dad
Only
could have
sometimes.
road rage, but it's like calmer. But he'll cuss somebody out while he's driving, like you stupid. But it's more of like, are you stupid son of a? And while I'm like,
Have you guys seen that meme that the girl's like, it's like a really short thing where the girl's like, she's in a panel or something, and she's like, no, I didn't do that, and she's like, I need to relax. Like, it's she's talking about, and that's literally me when I'm driving. Like, I'll be like,
I need
"Ah,"
to feel
and I'm
too.
like, oh my god, you just need to get to work. Like, take a chill pill.
It'll be okay.
So then but yeah.
It'll be okay. Oh, were you gonna
It's
say
much
something about when I
better.
said something about the sequels? If there's a sequel, I want a sequel.
I was gonna
or a
say that
spin-off.
I wouldn't want a direct sequel, but I'd be down for a spinoff.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
like.
side character spin-off would be
Yeah, that'd
good.
be
Like
fun.
reference Alice being almost like the new Ezra, where she helps out new
Yeah.
vampires. She somehow found a way to get back home to see her family sometimes, but
Yeah.
she helps out the vampires over there
I
in
love
small
them.
towns or something. That'd
Let's
be
fan
fun to
fiction
give a
it.
nod
I'm
to
just
her.
joking.
What'd you say?
I said, let's write it. Let's fan fiction it. And then I said, I'm just joking.
Fanfic. Ooh, that's a hot topic right now.
I know.
Yeah. Well, not the topic to get into an hour and a half
No,
later.
No.
This was super fun. And Shauna, you were worried that you were going to remember it well enough, but you remembered it really well. So,
Well, some things
all
I was
your-
like, what? But then you guys jogged my memory. I'm like, oh yeah, that person.
Yeah.
Definitely some of the side characters. I was like, I don't remember that at all.
I'm
But
really bad with names. So I have a list of character names on the screen right next to me. And I'm like, is that their name? Like, I still question it.
maybe.
And it's just my one. I'm always bad with names, but I'm pretty good at remembering scenes. So I felt okay. And Ingrid, thank you for your Google Docs. They were
You're
great
welcome.
for, great conversation starters or the continuation of thoughts. But this was so fun. And I'm so glad because I really liked this book and I felt like there was so much to it. And I just didn't feel that I could have done enough on my own to really tap into everything that made this book
Thanks.
what it was and why
really
we thought it was so fantastic. So yeah,
Great.
thanks. I'll have both of you linked. And Joshana, would you like your one video going through like books that go into manipulation and things like that linked since it's kind of related?
You can.
Whatever.
It's fine.
It's only like me pouring a lot of myself into something. But it's fine.
Yeah, a lot of emotional trauma dumping. No. Yeah, you can. Watch it.
But obviously, whoever ends up watching this, let us know your thoughts. Were there any topics that we didn't end up addressing that you feel were really significant to you? Thanks, of course, to Ingrid and Joshana for joining, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.